Well, how's everybody doing out there? My blood is still boiling over Dr. Anthony Fauci, our acclaimed wizard of smart from the CDC. If you remember, there's a lot of words on closing down businesses and churches, but very few words about closing down riots. So Jim Jordan questioned him just a couple of days ago. And like I said, my blood is still boiling. While we see riots with petri dish dance parties and people getting assaulted and murdered, even babies getting murdered, arsonists burning buildings down, the rioters just utterly destroying whole city blocks. We do not hear from Dr. Fauci that this is close contact and it should be avoided. So let's roll the clip now, and you'll see what I mean about my blood boiling. Perhaps your blood will boil also.
Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Fauci, do protests increase the spread of the virus?
Do protests increase the spread of the virus? I think I can make a general statement.
Well, 500,000 protesters on June 6th alone.
Yeah.
I'm just asking that number of people, does it increase the spread of the virus?
Crowding together, particularly when you're not wearing a mask, contributes to the spread of the virus.
Should we limit the protesting?
I'm not sure what you mean. How do we say limit the protesting?
Should government limit the protesting?
I don't think that's relevant to...
Well, you just said if it increases the spread of the virus. I'm just asking, should we limit it?
Well, I'm not in a position to determine what the government can do in a forceful way.
Well, you make all kinds of recommendations. You make comments on dating, on baseball, on everything you can imagine. I'm just asking you just said that protests increase the spread. I'm just asking you, should we try to limit the protests?
No, I think I would leave that to people who have more of a position to do that. I can tell you...
Government stopping people from going to church, Dr. Fauci?
Yeah.
Last week in the Calvary Chapel case, 5 liberals on the Supreme Court said it was okay for Nevada to limit church services. Justice Gorsuch said it best. He said there's no world in which the Constitution permits Nevada to favor Caesar's Palace over Calvary Chapel. I'm just asking, is there a world where the Constitution says you can favor one First Amendment liberty, protesting, over another, practicing your faith?
I'm not favoring anybody over anybody. I'm just making a statement that's a broad statement that avoid crowds of any type, no matter where you are, because that leads to the acquisition and transmission. And I don't judge one crowd versus another crowd. When you're in a crowd, particularly if you're not wearing a mask, that induces the spread.
It's a simple question, Doctor. Should we limit the protests? Government is obviously limiting people going to church. And look, there's been no violence that I can see at church. I haven't seen people during a church service go out and harm police officers or burn buildings. But we know that, for 63 days, 9 weeks, it's been happening in Portland.
Right. Yeah.
Well, one night in Chicago, 49 officers were injured, but no limit to protests. But boy, you can't go to church on Sunday.
What was the?
I don't know how many times I can answer that. I'm not going to opine on limiting anything. I'm just going to tell you.
You've opined on a lot of things, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, but I've never.
This is something that directly impacts the spread of the virus, and I'm asking your position on the protest.
Yeah, I'm not going to opine on limiting anything. I'm telling you what it is, the danger. And you can make your own conclusion about that. You should stay away from crowds, no matter where the crowds are.
Government has stopped people from going to work. In fact, just in New Jersey 4 days ago, Ian Smith, Frank Trombetta were arrested for trying to operate their business, their gym. They were arrested. But my bet is, if these two individuals who own this gym were outside just in front of their gym, and all the people who were working out in their gym were outside protesting, they'd been just fine. But because they were in the gym working out, actually running their business, they got arrested. You think that's okay?
I'm not going to opine on who gets arrested and who does not. You get where I'm going. I'm telling you, as a public health official, I say crowds.
Do you see the inconsistency, though, Dr. Fauci?
There's no inconsistency, Congressman.
There's no so you're allowed to protest, millions of people on one day in crowds yelling, screaming, but you try to run your business, you get arrested? And if you stood right outside of that same business and protested, you wouldn't get arrested? You don't see an inconsistency there?
I don't understand what you're asking me as a public health official to opine on who should get arrested or not. That's not my position. You could ask it as much as you
you've
want,
advocated for
and I'm
certain
not gonna
businesses.
answer it.
You've advocated for certain businesses to be shut down. I'm just asking you on your position on the protest. I haven't seen one. We've heard a lot about hair salons. I haven't seen one hairstylist who, between haircuts, goes out and attacks police or sets something on fire. But we've seen all kinds of that stuff during protests, and we know the protests actually increase the spread of the virus. You've said that.
I said crowds. I didn't say specifically. I didn't say protests do anything.
So the protests don't increase the spread of the virus?
I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth.
No, I just want an answer to the question. Do the protests increase the spread of the virus?
I don't have any scientific evidence that anything. I can tell you that crowds are known, particularly when you don't have a mask, to increase the acquisition and transmission. No matter what the crowd is.
So you don't have a position on whether the protests increase the spread of the virus or don't increase the spread of the virus?
I'm saying that crowds, wherever the crowds are, can give you an increased probability that there's going to be acquisition and transmission.
But do you understand Americans' concern? Protesting, particularly according to the Democrats, is just fine, but you can't go to work, you can't go to school, you can't go to church. There's limits placed on all three of those fundamental activities, First Amendment activities, but protesting is just fine.
You know, that was hard to bear. I mean, was that as hard to bear for you as it was for me? Because I could hardly get through his words because he has broken trust at this point so badly, I don't even want to listen to him anymore. Now, his words have reigned supreme as the starting point so Democrats in Democrat regions can arrest people for going to church. See, words have come out of the mouth of Dr. Fauci, and he has said churches or public gatherings, they should be discouraged. Then the governors have taken his words and made rule books and guidelines so that they've had their police actually arrest people that have met for church. So this is very alarming in a free society, and it's very alarming when you understand the Constitution gives us religious liberties. Is it that easy to strip away religious liberties by one person based upon one incident? I mean, that's what everything boils down to as seems like a disaster for the free world. Well, Jim Jordan was questioning him because if Dr. Fauci could merely say that crowds are discouraged, crowds would increase the chance of the spread of COVID-19, and then rioters are in a crowd, those words could be used so we can discourage rioters. Now, does the government have the right to trample on free speech? Does the government have the right to trample on religious speech? I mean, we're in quite a quandary here if you think of it from a historical perspective. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this. Jim Jordan never got the answer that he wanted because, I guess in a deceptive way, we have Dr. Anthony Fauci sitting there saying, well, I don't understand. I just don't understand the question. Why are you questioning me like that? I don't get the nature of the question. Of course, he's not lying. He's just withholding truth so that he can deceive his audience. And that's along the lines of downright scary. See, his prioritization could be health at the very top. Health is the top, and then you can put partisanship and who your friends are and how you're trying to oppress them down below. Now, what we have seen through this is Dr. Fauci is very impressionable and wants to impress his friends as well. And if things are going on that his Democrat friends approve of, he doesn't want to discourage those things. Then, tier 2 of his priority is health. Now that right there seems like a huge red flag for this man. And remember, he's just a man. He's not a god. A lot of people in America worship doctors as if they are gods, but they are not. Dr. Fauci is not God, and therefore when he has this priority schedule of impressing his friends and then public health, and then you have businesses and religious freedom way down there. You can take a telescope and look way down there and see if you can see where he thinks of religious freedom. And so what are we to do? What are the church people to do in the Democrat states that have completely lost their religious freedom due to this man's statement and leadership's action on his statement? And now, since he doesn't make a statement against riots, that means there's going to be more riots. It's leadership pushing this on. It's almost tyrannical. It's almost like we have the Manchurian candidate right here in our midst that's trying to overthrow the United States. I mean, it's downright scary. So I'm really interested in what you have to say. So if you want to join the discussion, just write those things down into the comment section below. And as always, it's always free to subscribe, thumbs up, and share. I hope the best for you. Blessings on you this week. And I'll see you next time.